Video game fans have plenty of questions about the movie adaptation of Uncharted. For one, did Tom Holland really pull off the role of Nathan Drake? Even after seeing the film, some questions will linger. Keep watching for the biggest. After being caught breaking and entering and threatened with prison, Nate's brother Sam escapes from the orphanage where the brothers live. Sam promises he'll come back, but he never does, leaving Nate to wonder where Sam went. Nate's mentor, Victor Sullivan, admits that Sam used to be his treasure hunting partner, yet he avoids talking about Sam's fate for most of the film.
I think you're here because you're your brother.
Well, you know my brother Sam?
Eventually, it becomes clear that Sully and his sometimes ally Chloe believe Sam is dead. The mercenary Braddock even indicates she's the one who killed him. At the end of the film, though, there's a brief scene set in a dingy prison that indicates Sam is still kicking. We see a man writing a postcard, the form of communication he used to reach out to Nate. But where is he, and how did he survive as Sully, Chloe, and Braddock all thought they saw him die? There are several tantalizing ways that Nate and Sully could learn about Sam's situation. They could find out from a third party and rescue him. Nate could find out Sully secretly knows the truth about Sam, leading to a rift. Or Sam could escape and seek out the pair in some unexpected way. There's plenty of fodder for a sequel. Uncharted makes it seem as though Santiago Moncada is the film's main villain, but when Braddock, the mercenary he hired, kills him midway through the film, she becomes the true antagonist. Moncada was willing to do whatever it took to find and claim Magellan's treasure, but he didn't like to get his hands dirty. Braddock, on the other hand, is more than happy to get her hands dirty and has a band of goons who seem to share her cutthroat impulses. That doesn't mean she's a great villain. Her motivations mostly seem to revolve around the desire for a massive payday. Still, she keeps the film's fight scenes interesting, including the final fight on one of Magellan's ships. When she loses the fight and falls into the ocean, that ship ends up crashing into the water on top of her. Given the circumstances, it seems like Braddock must have died on contact, but there are plenty of movies that have made it seem like the villain is dead only to resurrect them in the sequel. If, say, Braddock was a strong swimmer, she could have gotten away before the ship hit the sea and we wouldn't have seen it. The movie's mid-credits sequence sets up Nate and Sully's next adventure. Nate meets a man with an eye patch to make a trade to acquire a map that will lead to Nazi treasure, although it's never clear what specifically he's hoping to find. In World War II, the Nazis confiscated and looted all kinds of valuable art and artifacts, so it wouldn't be all that surprising if Nate and Sully decided to go after one of those treasures. Besides, Nazis come up a couple of times during the Uncharted games, so it's possible their mention in the mid-credits scene is an indication that, although this Uncharted film told an original story, the plot of the sequel will take its cues from the plot of one of the games. Either way, going up against Nazis is a popular trope in action-adventure films. Everyone from Indiana Jones to Captain America have done it, so perhaps it's no surprise that Nathan Drake and Sully would do so as well. The man that Nate meets in the mid-credits scene references his boss during their exchange. We don't know much about this boss, but one of the things he requests in exchange for the Nazi map is the ring Nate wears on a strap around his neck. The ring has sentimental value for Nate. It was originally Sam's, and Sam gave it to Nate when he left. Yet as Nate points out, it has no real-world value. The man with the eye patch's boss isn't seeking financial gain, though. His boss wants it because it has value to Nate. It seems as though this unseen boss could be an interesting antagonist. Of course, it's unclear whether he will be the main villain in the next movie, as Nate and Sully could find themselves racing against someone else to claim the treasure. Yet the fact that this boss is still unknown indicates he could be a big player in the next film. Could this be a villain from the Uncharted games? Or maybe it's Sam himself? After all, if Sam escaped from prison and amassed his own gang, it could explain why the man with the eye patch said his boss wanted Nate's ring. In the last moments in the mid-credits scene, Sully shows up to help Nate when the meeting with the man with the eye patch goes south. After Sully gets the situation under control, Nate and Sully leave together. They bicker about Sully's delayed arrival until they see something that stops them in their tracks. The final second of the film shows them looking dumbfounded, but what do they see? It's entirely possible that they've run into a new character or characters that we won't meet until the sequel. Or they may have encountered a character we're familiar with. Perhaps Braddock is really alive and has finally hunted them down. Or perhaps this is the point where Sam reveals he's still among the living. There are a ton of possibilities, but without an idea of the potential story for the sequel, it's hard to narrow them down.
What else aren't you telling me?
Sully summons Chloe Fraser when he and Nate first arrive in Spain. Even though Chloe initially antagonizes them, they eventually team up to track down a map to help them find Magellan's gold. Nate and Sully quickly learn she wasn't entirely trustworthy. She was actually working for Moncada, and she regularly makes it clear that she doesn't trust anyone. Even so, she eventually helps them reclaim the artifacts they need from Moncada's plane. By the time Nate figures out the location of the treasure, he knows he can't trust Chloe. So he leaves a set of fake coordinates just in case she takes off before he wakes up. Unfortunately for Chloe, she takes the bait, which means instead of finding the gold with him, she goes on a wild goose chase. The movie gives no indication of what that means for her relationship with Nate or Sully, leaving open the question of what could happen if she ever meets up with them again. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.